Okay, we're gonna go live.
Okay.
Recording in progress.
Okay. Greetings, everyone. I'm Tanya Morrow, Chair of the our Rogue Valley Transportation District Board, and I'm going to call the regular meeting of the board of June 24th, 2026 to order with a roll call vote, please, Lou.
Okay. Denise Kraus. Here. Bill Mansfield.
Yeah.
Tanya Morrow.
Here.
Tyler Jasper.
Here.
Katrina Ernman Newton.
Here.
Dan Davis.
Yes, here.
Oh, and Carl McNair.
Where's
Here.
Dan?
There's a quorum.
Oh, Dan's there.
Yep.
Okay, great. Sorry I'm not with you. I'm happen to be out of town and just coming out of a really severe cold. So excuse me as my voice is not recovered here. All right. Do we have any public comment tonight? Anybody online that wishes to speak to the board?
I don't see any.
Okay. Great. We'll move on to the consent agenda.
Oh, right there. Okay.
Okay, we do.
I didn't see his name.
Okay, so
Okay, Stuart Buzo, would you like to speak to us?
Yes. I've got a question about the budget process, and I don't know if this is the best place or is there a different place in the agenda to ask that question?
Well, typically this is an opportunity for you to talk to us, tell us about issues you have on non-agenda items, and typically also we don't necessarily respond to what you might have to say tonight because it's not on the agenda. So why don't you go ahead and share with us what is of concern, and I'll see what the board would like to do. And Katrina, did you have something at the moment you'd like to raise? Your hand's up.
that's Stuart.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can't tell. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Stuart.
Okay, thank you. This year, the copy of the budget was not available for the public to look at until the day of the budget meeting. And I was wondering, maybe for the future, if that could be made a few days earlier for people to give it a review. And I know you won't be able to answer, but food for thought.
No, thank you for that.
It was a few years ago.
Thank you for that. My understanding it was probably published before that, but I'll ask Blue if she wouldn't mind responding to that.
Plus they could come in and get a physical copy.
I was gonna say, well, I don't think, Lucy was asking you to respond, but
Yeah.
Oh, good.
No, it's in the newspaper that I think we've always done it that way though. And I think a lot of the agencies around here do the same thing, where it's available on the day of the budget committee
Okay.
meeting.
All right. That's our practice, huh?
Yeah.
Kadok. So we hear you, Stuart, and maybe we'll take that in consideration for next time around.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think we're gonna move the public meetings policy. I'd like to move the public
Yes.
meetings policy. Are we gonna make it a discussion item or a action item? I understand there might be an issue of needing
Right.
to pass it tonight or not. What's the word on that?
there is no issue. We can
Okay.
pass it all the way up till November to be able to receive our discount from SDAO. So we can definitely move it to discussion and then further discussion in the future if you'd like.
Okay, great. We'll move that item to under number 6, item number 6. And so in the meantime, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Does anybody have any objections to approving the consent agenda, which now consists of approving of the board meeting minutes of May 27th, 2026? Hearing no objections, consent agenda is passed. And now we come to our public hearing on the proposed budget for fiscal year 2026-2027. in the amount of $48,795,729. And this comes to us upon a recommendation of the Budget Committee. And so I will open the public hearing and ask if there's anybody out there that would like to speak. And I see that maybe Stuart is gone, so he may not want to speak on that. Is there anybody else out there?
No.
Okay. All right. Was there going to be a staff presentation on the
Yes.
budget? Okay, go ahead now, even though we're
Okay.
in the public
I'm
hearing.
going to ask Ms. Wilbur to come up and do a presentation on the budget.
Good evening, board chairs and chair members. Debbie Wilbur, Finance Manager of RVTD. I just wanted to say that there have been no changes to the budget since the Budget Committee approved meeting. Sometimes we have small changes. We've made no changes. We request that this resolution be adopted as approved by the Budget Committee. That's all I have to say, unless you have a question.
Staff, have any questions? I mean, excuse me, the board have any questions of staff? All right, I will close the public hearing and we'll move on to either deliberations or questions or seeking a motion from anybody of the board.
Move adoption of
Okay, thank you, Bill.
Resolution 2504.
Thank you, Bill. Any deliberations from the board? Any thoughts, comments?
Chair, I do have a comment, and that is, I just want to thank not only the board of directors, but also our budget committee for getting together and working on this, asking really good questions and helping us get through the process. And if we didn't have people that volunteered to be on our budget committee, it'd be really hard to do this. So I just want to thank each person that volunteered.
Thank you. And I'd echo that and note that several of us did thank some of our lay members of the budget committee. And again, we thank you for your service. Anything else? Let me see, check to see for hands. No hands. All right. We'll go ahead for a roll call vote, please. Lou?
Denise Kraus,
Yes.
Bill Mansfield,
Yes.
Tanya Morrow,
Yes.
Tyler Jasper,
Yes.
Katrina Ernman Newton,
Yes.
Dan Davis,
Yes.
and Carl McNair.
Yes.
7 yes votes. Motion passed.
Thank you.
Great. Just go ahead and send that over to me. I'll execute it electronically.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we can discuss the let's discuss the public meetings policy. And was there going to be a presentation on that?
Question?
Yes.
Does the chair recognize me?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I think we all agree that any board member has the right to bring up any issue that's relevant to board business, even if it's not on the agenda. You might recall that we talked about that 2 or 3 years ago. That was an issue. I believe we all agree with that. I'm not panicked about this new policy, but on page 1, I would feel a lot more comfortable if it had a provision saying matters not on the agenda to be presented by board members. I would feel better about it, but it might be covered under items not on agenda open to public board and staff participation. If it's interpreted to include the right of a board member to bring up a non-agenda item, then I'm fine. I'm not trying to create trouble. I just want to make sure that none of us are foreclosed from bringing up issues not on the agenda.
So what I was going to, and I know that Tanya also raised this policy with me, some concerns in this policy and inconsistencies between the roles and responsibilities of board members and your bylaws. And so one of the things, and I agreed with her that I thought if there was no time limit on this, we should pull it from the agenda, from the consent, calendar, and have more discussion about, because I found a lot of inconsistencies myself. This was a policy that special districts sent out to all members and said, here's our first attempt to a policy that we think that all districts should use, blah, 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 and gave us the format for it. I think that there are some things that Tanya has actually red flagged herself and sent to me along with some of my concerns. And I think what we should do is maybe redline this, send it back out to the board, and then bring it back for discussion at the next board meeting or in a future board meeting, along with the bylaws, so that we can bring them both up to date at the same time and that there won't be any conflict. And I don't think that there was really any thought of trying to keep the board members from bringing up anything, because you know how I feel.
I don't feel like there
Yeah,
was any
I know.
conspiracy.
No.
I just want to make sure that we continue to have that right. And I think your suggestion of putting it on the table for later consideration is a good idea.
Yeah, I think that this is special districts' attempt to comply with the new public meetings laws, which all of you, I think, have attended the training. If you haven't, we need to get you to do that training. But it's their attempt to try to get that into compliance. And so I will be sending this back and forth along with Kelly. For those of you that aren't aware, Luann's going to be retiring, so it'll be coming from us. We'll try to get this all updated and then kind of wrapped up and out to you early before the next board meeting, so you have plenty of time to look at it and make more comments.
Perfect.
Okay.
Any other thoughts or comments? That works for me.
And I appreciate you flagging that and sending me an email yesterday or day before, whenever it was, with your concerns. Because when I pulled up the bylaws, I didn't even think about the bylaws. And when I looked down and went, oh, we've got a really big problem here. And our bylaws have not been updated for
Long time.
Long time.
Will you publish when you, on these handouts, will you include the bylaws?
I will,
So that
yes.
we can refresh our memories?
And they look like, so that you know when you see the document, they kind of look like this. Tyler's
Yeah.
probably familiar with them because he just recently got copies of it, but it's probably been many years since you received a copy. It's been many years since I even looked at it, so we'll get it out to you.
All right. Let's see, where are we then? Thank you. No objections to that. Everybody good? No other questions or comments?
I like this idea. I appreciate this idea. Looking forward to looking at these documents side by side.
Great. Okay, reports from the general manager.
And I have some
What
reports
is
for
going
you.
on? Awesome.
What isn't going on? So just wanted to let you know that the visioning group from the governor's office has met a couple times now. And then we have just kind of put together the subgroups, and they're starting to meet in fury during the month of June. The transit subgroup, I also sit on that group, and we're meeting every other week. So right now I've been running to Salem every week.
Wow.
Between the two different ones. But this is what I can report out, what we're working on. The subgroup has been asked a couple questions, and we're supposed to meet again this Friday and talk about what is it we want to achieve here. And some of the questions that we've been really struggling with is, how do you talk to legislators? How do you put into a report what is going to be like our basic need of service? What is an acceptable level of service in the state of Oregon for transit? And that's really a loaded question because each community is different. And one of the things that I've been explaining to them is that RVTD is kind of cut back to that basic level. Like what we have today is something that meets most of the needs in the Southern Oregon area. Now, that does not include out of district. It does not include convenience. It does not include having convenient transit service that runs every 15 minutes or every 30 minutes on some routes. It does not mean that in all the places where we had routes in our 2017, from our 2017 stiff dollars, that we would be able, that we need those routes. Okay, so one of the things that has been easy for RVTD is that we've already made that adjustment. We've made adjustment back to what we think we can maintain over a period of time with our levy money and with our federal money and our state money. The second question they asked is, what happens if there is no increase in transit funding? How soon does the cliff come? What has to be sacrificed? And how long can you run on that service? And so we have been running out projections for 10 years. Third question was, if we were able to give you money, like double your STIF back to so it'd be 0.2% with no sunset, what does that mean? What would it buy us? And the answer to the question is, you're not going to see new service. You're going to see maintaining a service level that we can carry out maybe 4 or 5 years beyond where we thought. And that is not sitting well with people. They are really, really concerned, especially from the transit agencies, because we have in front of us policy that says we're going to reduce VMT, that we're going to make a difference in climate, that we're going to meet the needs of our communities. And we were really struggling trying to decide, you know, how do we present this so it makes sense? And one of the things that I think is that no matter what we do, it has to be safe, it has to be reliable, and it has to be affordable. Those three things are absolutely critical in every single community in the state of Oregon. And so that's kind of our goal for transit agencies that are around this subgroup. Now, there are a lot of people around the subgroup that are not transit agencies. There's the unions, there are the chambers, there are business owners, there are city councils, there are other people that don't have a transit agency that are also at the table. And so they're being asked the same thing. What is the expectation of transit in your community? What is the level that is acceptable? And so we have to come up with a kind of some framework by Friday. So the Oregon Transit Association, we've been meeting on the side, trying to grapple with this and come up with what we think is going to be something that is palatable, that we can push forward. But I just want to tell you this. We're way ahead of the curve than the rest of the transit agencies. And what they're just realizing now is what we realized last year. So they're at the cutting stage. They're at that stage where how far back do we cut and how long will our funds last us? They didn't do it like we did it. And they're really, really struggling. And their cuts are going to be a lot deeper than our cuts. And so I'm really thankful. I know that it wasn't easy on the community. It wasn't easy on the employees. It certainly wasn't easy on the board of directors. But what we did was right. Because what it's showing me right now is that with no stiff increase at all, and with the levy dollars, we will be able to probably make it without a deficit until the year 2030. By what we've done, by the budget we've put together, by looking at this very carefully and figuring out what we can do, we think that we can run what we have today with the extra things that we said we'd do with the levy until 2030. That's pretty good projection. And when I shared that today, everybody around the table looked at me like, are you kidding me? You guys have projected that far out already? And it's like, yes. So we have a lot of work to do. The subgroup, what is happening in the subgroup and with the Oregon Transit Association members is they're starting to realize that this is really serious, that we have got to make a really good case of what it is we're trying to do and how we're going to maintain service. And I think one of the things, the questions today was from LTD, they asked me, how do you define, what is the word I'm looking for? Maintenance, not maintenance. sustainable service. That was the word, sustainable. What do you define as sustainable service? And I go, well, if you look at the definition, of sustain something is keep it going, to move in that forward motion, to keep it alive, to not cut it. And so I said, what we do, no matter what we suggest to them, to the legislature, to the subgroup, to the visioning group, is whatever we put together as a way to fund transit, it has to be sustainable. And that means indexing it. It means planning that increase of costs. And it's got to be, it can't just be a flat amount of money like we've done. We can't just say it's 0.1% and it's always going to stay at 0.1%. It may have to increase to be able to cover the actual cost of transit. And so we've got a lot of work to do, but I think that I want to thank my staff because Debbie's been rerunning these numbers over and over and over, and I've been asking her to do things. And I pointed out to the rest of them, I go, okay, the Department of Transportation put together an Oregon Public Transportation Plan, and it has not been updated in years. But here's the plan. So we have this plan. And in the plan, it was really interesting because it showed that if we did nothing, if we continued down this road, by 2026, transit would be at the cliff again, and our funding would be below the need or the cost. It was predicted back in 1996, and nobody paid attention. And so then they keep asking it, well, what can we offer up? What level of service? And I said, did anybody read the white paper from 2020 that talks about levels of service and what is needed to be able to meet all those goals like climate, meet long-time sustainability, blah, 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 on and on. And everybody just looked at me. I go, why do we do these plans then? Like, we are not going back and reviewing our own work. The work has already been done. We don't have to reinvent this thing. It's all there at our fingertips if people would just take the time to read it. I don't think that the state of Oregon is being realistic in our idea that we are going to be able to meet our climate goals, that we are going to be able to reduce VMT, et cetera, unless we do fund transit. It's not going to happen. So what's going to happen is this slow death of cuts, and it's cuts not only to operating, but to capital too. So if you remember when RVTD in 2016, we did a huge cut. We did it in 2015. We cut service. We went out for a levy. We got the levy in 2016 to bail us out a little bit, but we were already at a cliff. But we had let the maintenance of our buildings go. We had let our fleet go. We had let everything go because we didn't have the money to maintain or buy new things. And then what do? We get 2017, we get the COVID money, we get all these things, and we do everything right. We build our buildings, we build up our fleet, we do everything right. RVTD is like the golden child. But now we can't maintain it. So what are we going to do? And that's the piece that they need to understand. We can't continue on this roller coaster over and over because the result is going to be the same. And so it'll be interesting when I'm hoping that this all works out. I'm taking my Starlink on my vacation to meet with the visioning group for 4 hours one day in the middle of Montana somewhere. But I'm hoping that this is the kind of conversation that they hear, because nobody is being realistic. And I told them one of the questions I think is, you have all these people. You have the chamber at the table, you have the union at the table, you have the providers at the table, and nobody is asking the elephant in the room questions like, hey, unions, what are you going to do? You know, right now, all you care is about your union membership, increasing wages, increasing benefits, and keeping their wages up at a really, really high level. But you're killing transit. Hey, chamber, every time somebody goes out for a payroll tax like Salem, in the Salem area, you kill it. Hey, city councils, you don't, every time there's a CMAQ application, or even the counties, that's going to improve transit, you kill it. So are you willing to kill everything, kill all of this, and then at some point you can't even meet your own policies that you put into play? So it'll be interesting what they come up with, but I'm pretty fired up about this right now because it's like, I feel like I talk to a wall. And it's time that somebody gives them a slap in the face and of reality. I mean, it's cold water, but it's like, you guys are gonna have to make a decision here. What is it you wanna do? And, you know, I've heard things like, well, maybe we should just give the locals the right to increase their payroll tax locally by themselves. That's not gonna work. You know, that's not gonna work. It'll help some and it won't help others. You know, what are we doing here? We have to be, as a state, we're gonna have to get really serious about this if we want economic development, if we wanna continue providing services for people of Oregon and reduce our VMT and fix our climate. Yeah,
May I ask a question past the
Sorry.
committee?
No, thank you for your
Sorry.
passion, Julie. Go ahead, Bill.
You've told us about, you've been very complete about telling us about this committee and the issues. I'm going past that to the legislature, and let me restate a little history that we already know. The majority party in the omnibus transportation bill enacted, it included an increase in the payroll tax, didn't it? From 0.1% to
2/10.
to 0.2%, and that would put us in pretty good shape, wouldn't it?
No,
So, Mike, now it wouldn't. Well, that would help a lot.
it would help,
Yeah.
but it would not mean more service, but it would mean we could sustain that line out further, yes.
Okay, and I'm going to ask you to be a magic prognosis person. You might decline to do that. We're pretty sure that the majority party will pass it again. We're pretty sure that the minority party will vote against it, but it'll pass. But the real problem is it'll get immediately sent to the public for a vote again, just like the last time,
Possibly,
by the minority party. And
possibly.
are we going to be able to educate the public about the need to do something more than just, I don't want no more taxes, no how?
Sure. So that's a good question. The reason it got sent to referendum, and they were warned it was going to get sent to
We
referendum.
all knew it.
So there's got to be a meeting of the minds, and there's got to be agreement from both sides of the aisle. And yes, the people could vote against it, but most people don't even know what they voted for. So a good example of that is somebody said something about, well, ODOT should be out of their problem by now because look at gas prices. They've gone up so much. And the person said to him, it's not by percentage. It's a flat 1 penny. And it's a penny a gallon. It's not your 4 cents a gallon or 6 cents a gallon, whatever. It's 40 cents a gallon. So it doesn't go up just because the cost of fuel goes up. So no, ODOT isn't out of their problem. There's a whole bunch of things that will have to happen, but I think we can get there. There's also a possibility of a different way of doing this. It may not be the payroll tax.
What possibly, can you give us some clues about that?
I'm going to keep that close to the vest right now.
Okay.
I'll tell you later.
Got some magic plan?
I do have a magic plan.
We need one.
Yes.
It's one magic plan.
Doesn't have the word tax in it, does it?
No,
Good.
Call it
no,
a magic Christmas gift
no.
or something nice.
There are some different things. What? I'm sorry,
Katrina
Tony.
Katrina has something she'd like to share. Go ahead.
So this is kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but hearing you talk about the need for chamber support. The last time I was at Tradco, there was a lot of excitement about this spotlight on Southern Oregon that's coming up very shortly here at the end of the month, as a time when the local chambers were hosting legislators and hoping to have different things that could express to them what's important. And there definitely is this sense that we need them to be thinking about public transportation. And I think that this might be a good time to talk to the chambers about, we need commitments from as many of you as humanly possible that you're going to be supportive of the measures that do structurally improve and sustain public transportation, like payroll tax, other options to fund magic plans potentially. So, this might be a good time to get everybody aligned around that, and aligned especially around the information piece.
So tomorrow, the chamber is going to start that Southern Oregon showcase. There will be legislators here. Our bus will be providing transportation. They're going to be going around Southern Oregon looking at different projects. So let me back up a couple steps. The new interim director of ODOT is going to be Chris Warner from the governor's office. He was the chief of staff for the governor. He is taking on the role as interim manager. He will be coming down here tomorrow and riding with me out to RCC to catch the bus. We'll be riding with the legislators for about an hour and a half. We're going to be talking about transit. We're going to be talking about road projects. We're going to be talking about ODOT. And so we have a captive audience for about an hour and a half to talk about road projects, and we'll be doing that. The one thing I have to say that has been good is that Southern Oregon has supported transit. They supported it through the levy. The chamber has been supportive. So we are in a fortunate place, but it's not like that everywhere. And so somehow or another, Jackson County Chamber is, I think, the second largest chamber in the state of Oregon. And I'm hoping what they can do is help some of the smaller chambers get a handle on this and help with this conversation. Because the bottom line is the economic development. I mean, if you think about Southern Oregon, one of the things that I brought up was people don't normally think about is that RVTD has worked extremely hard with our community to help get workers to work, to get young people to schools, to charter schools, to RCC, to SOU. We have agreements with the housing development around here, with Jackson County Housing Development. We go out them, teach them how to use the bus. We show them how to use the bike racks. We help them with getting a bus pass program at their home in their low-income housing. We do all this work, and it makes a difference. And so those are the things that we're going to be sharing with them. Yeah, Dan?
Don't forget the veterans, because every time I go out to White City to the Dom, they don't call it that anymore. But
Would you speak into the machine?
every time I go out to White City, I see people going to the bus stops at the facility there and using that facility. It's very much appreciated, I believe.
It is, and you may not be aware, if you remember during our budget conversation, we just got our grant, our Go Vet grant back. So Brian Simpson is back from serving, and he will be working part-time with the veterans in our area to help them with their bicycling needs, their all of those things. So yes, we'll highlight that too. I mean, those are things that we've done everything right. And I think that that's helpful to legislators, but they need to go back and be asking important questions to their transit agencies. What are you doing? How are you doing it? Who are you serving? What is a critical need for transportation in your community? You know, it may not be a fixed route bus. It may be the dial-a-ride service to get people to and from critical things. I know Denise, has been reaching out to us along with Tyler about the Valley Lift program and how we can help people who are elderly and disabled pay for their fare or even get back on the Valley Lift program. So all those things are really, really important. I don't think legislators make the connection between who they serve and who they represent, who we serve and who they represent, until we get them to give the voice to it. And so we've been really good at that, getting people to go up to Salem, getting people to write letters, getting people to testify. All of those things we have really been proactive to. I've got to get the rest of the state on fire doing that. Because if we don't all lift it, it's not going to work. So kind of got a second wind. See how long I can last. But I mean, I'm desperate at this point. You know that I have retirement on my horizon. I'm moving towards that. I want to be able to leave RVTD in good hands with funding to be able to go into the future and carry what we've built. And I'm not willing to just walk away and turn my back and leave all of my managers holding the bag. That's not me, and I won't do it. So as long as I'm still upright, which I am, I'm going to keep working on this. So we'll see. But it's a lot of work. And I'm just like, some days these poor guys have to listen to me scream and yell in my office, like, really? Come on, wake up. But I've got LTD fired up finally. Lane Transit is now, so Jameson Otten, who is the general manager, is the chair of the subgroup. He calls me constantly. We talk almost daily. He's really fired up. He's moving it forward. Chariots, who has been a good partners with us, Alan Pollock and I have always been the ones to testify. He's been the one that has served as vice chair and chair, like with the Oregon Transit Association. He's retiring first of the year. So I'm concerned about Salem and who they replace with. TriMet, they're out there somewhere. Their GM is just buried, and I don't know if he'll ever show up for anything. But his staff are fired up, his lobbyists are fired up. I think we'll get somewhere. And now we're getting the small guys to the table and getting them to realize. But like today, when the president of the Oregon Transit Association, he sat there and told me, I haven't done any projections. I don't even know how to do the projections. Like, man, my finance person will be calling your finance person and we'll get you going because you have to do this. You have to do a projection, and they're tiny. They're very, very small. But we've got to help them figure out how to project that out, because if they don't, they need to be at the table too, and they need to be the voice. And then we're going to have to find a way to talk about equity and distribution of funds in the state of Oregon. $124 million goes to TriMet from the STIF. RVTD gets 3.7 or 4.2 or whatever we get in the year. Sometimes it's more. We've gotten as far as 4.2 and then went back to 3.7. It happens. Unemployment comes up and we lose the amount of money we get. But we're going to have to figure out a better way of distributing this and lifting everybody, equally across the state so that everybody has good transit. And that's a hard lift, but more to come because I got a solution, maybe. We'll see.
Great. Carl's going to ask you what that is. Go ahead, Carl.
Carl, I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah.
I heard you say you're not saying yet, so I won't ask you
Yeah.
that. But
Okay.
No cards.
I appreciate all the work you're doing, Julie. I'm really glad that we have you positioned to have your voice out there and make an impact on this. And hopefully, all these efforts are successful. So that's all I really wanted to say. Thank you for doing all this work.
Well, I thank you because you've employed me all these years. The district has. I'm going to be celebrating in 2 days, I think it is, 19 years as your general manager. And you didn't have to do that, but you made a wise choice. So I'll brag on myself. But you know what? I have worked for the district almost, let's see, it'll be, actually it's 30 years. And it's been a great job because I've just become very passionate about what I do and I really care. And I've loved my job. Some days I don't love it, but most days I do. And you know what? You as a board serving, you couldn't pick a better board to serve on as transportation. I think that it's the heartbeat of what we do in the world. So you guys are going down the right path being transportation wonks. But what we do matters in this community. I've seen it over and over and over. And, and I know that the passion lives within my employees too. They feel that way too, or they wouldn't stay because it's not always wonderful. It's been extremely hard this last year. I'm surprised more people haven't given it up and walked away because it's been it's been heart-rending. But more to come. We'll get it through. We'll get it done. And if we don't, we'll try again in 28. So, if we don't get it in 27 in the long session, and it's going to be a long session, we will get it. We'll keep after this because the state can't afford not to. It's going to come to a crashing halt at some point. And if any of you really want to take on a mission, take on healthcare, and go after with the legislators about healthcare and the cost of healthcare, not only for our employees, but for the state of Oregon. That would help us. So I don't have the energies to take that on. I'm going to stop. That's the end of my report, but that's what we're up to. Everybody's crunching numbers. Everybody's moving forward. And, the staff are working on all this. The next step, I think, on my other report is that we're going to start these conversations with open houses and start talking about what we're going to do with the levy money. So that's our next step. Internally, we've been meeting every Tuesday. We kind of stopped because we were kind of working on the budget and trying to get this issue done. Now that's completed and you've adopted your budget. We can move on to the next thing. So we have two things that are hot issues right now. Three things. One is our health insurance renewal, our workers' comp renewal that we did today. We actually reduced it by 60,000. Is that what you told me? 50,000. 50,000. Great. So we're being better, safer. We've gotten rid of some of our bad behavior that was on the books and was killing our experience rating. So we saved $50,000 there. And then we're in the middle of union negotiations. You'll hear more about that as we should be getting close to ratification or something else. I don't know. Maybe, hopefully, keeping my fingers crossed by July. And then we need to start the service model. So talking about what we're open houses, what we're going to do with the public, what they want to see done, what the board would like to do, what we can do within our means. And so that's our next step. So you'll be hearing about that in the very near future. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Julie. Anybody have any questions or comments?
I have a comment. Julie mentioned that the heart of this organization is the board. And I think our board is pretty good, but I think the heart and soul of this organization is the staff, the beautiful staff that we have. So
I agree with you.
I disagree with you.
Okay. You can.
Yeah.
And I will respectfully agree with your disagreement. How's that? Bill and I always do this to each other. But no, you're right. It is the staff and they know it.
I hope you saw my eyes roll when you said that about the board.
Well, I wasn't sure if it was because you're sick or.
No, I didn't appreciate what you said. It was
Okay.
wrong. Okay.
Wait a
I
minute.
agree with
You
Bill
were
too.
rolling your eyes?
Yes, I was rolling my eyes. I do not have a poker face, Dan.
You're the one that recruited me.
That's true.
It's your fault.
All right. Well, thank you for your passion. I appreciate that you have a second wind. It takes a lot, and there's a lot of educating to do. And I'm glad you have a magic plan somewhere. Okay. We will move on to other business. I'm assuming there's no other reports from staff.
No.
Okay. Everybody has received the monthly financial reports, or speak now if you have not. Okay.
I received them, but I do have one question. Is that an item that we should move to the consent agenda on future agendas? It's pretty rare that we don't get them.
I think there is a reason that the staff wants
Debbie's waving her hand.
the record to reflect that, that we acknowledge them, right?
You acknowledge them, but you don't necessarily accept them because it's after the fact.
Okay.
But they want a bigger record than just a consent agenda on that. Yeah.
Right. If there's a business reason for it, I approve.
Okay.
All right. Are there any general comments or questions from the board? Don't see any. All right. Reports from the board. how is the RVCOG meeting, Bill?
The Alzheimer's experts from RivCog gave us a pretty good discussion about what Alzheimer's is about. I've forgotten everything they said. No,
Ha ha.
I'm just kidding. What they did is they talked generally about it, and the statistics, of course, the statistics indicate that as early as 60 years old, people are getting it. And I wondered about 90-year-old people, and that she didn't have any much to say about that. But she also talked enough about it for us to know that RivCog is very active in taking care of problems of old people, including Alzheimer's and all of the other mental health problems that come about. That completes my report.
Thank you. Any questions or thoughts there? All right. Our RVMPO, they have presented and we will be adopting at the next meeting a tribal consultation policy, which will allow at least a notice and opportunity for tribal members to consult with us about issues before the RVMPO. So that's out there. If anybody's interested in taking a look, you can go out to the RVMPO webpage to see that. But otherwise, we continued our discussions about the federal bills that I guess there's still two pending. And at the next meeting, well, at this meeting, staff provided sort of an outline of the key provisions of both of the bills that are pending in front of the federal legislature. And at the next meeting, I guess staff will be presenting a letter in support of either one or the other, or portions of any or all of them. And so I wanted to make sure you are aware of the outlines, the key provisions. And so, as you know, Paige sent you a copy of what was received in our packet yesterday. And I would appreciate it if any of you have an opportunity, willingness, interest in taking a look, because it doesn't say much. It just gives you links for which you can learn more. If you have an interest in doing that and want to report to me what your thoughts are, I will try to incorporate them into whatever decisions are presented to us at the next meeting. And I'll leave it at there and ask if Paige, because I have an idea that she knows a little bit more about what's going on in these acts, whether she wants to say anything to us now about them as to what the district, what benefits the district more between the two bills, or not. I just wanted to give her an opportunity if she wants to take an opportunity to tell us something more now.
Yes, thanks, Chair Morrow. Hi, good evening, Board of Directors. Julie Brown has definitely been more at the forefront of this bill and our transit advocacy that's happening at the Washington level. But I will just speak briefly on what I have understood from not only the transit perspective, but any of the transportation funding that's being provided. As you know, and I think we've talked about, a lot of our transportation packages have historically lasted from 5 to 7 years. We have also undergone what's considered a continuing resolution, which is not a new bill. It's essentially just kicking the ball down the road. You're just sort of continuing on with the resolution. We're not in that situation yet. However, in September 30th of 2026, the current US DOT transportation bill does expire. So if they're not able to come to some kind of an agreement with both chambers, then they will need to do some kind of a continuing resolution to continue with the bill, which is the current act. What I have heard from several different sources is that there's a general effort to make funding more flexible, not between different divisions within the US DOT, but within each division. So for example, we have funding that is specifically for preventive maintenance. We have funding that's specific for ADA or our Valley Lift service. We have funding that's very specific for our operations. There are some funding programs that could be flexed slightly depending on the size of your agency, depending on your program or project, that could actually dip into some of these other funding sources that you currently and historically have not been able to do. So that seems to be a very positive shift that I've heard from not only the cities, the MPO, but I think from our perspective with grant funding, if you can have some variability and some flexing options with your funding, it absolutely provides you with more opportunity to be able to look at other ways that you can spend that money. But we'll see if that happens. But Julie can definitely provide you with a little more context on some of the other opportunities that this legislation is looking at.
So go ahead.
I was going to say, one of the things is there is a slight increase in the $5,307, our operating dollars, but I think it's about 2.3% increase, which is about normal in funds. But there is an opportunity for more stick money, which unfortunately means you have to have higher ridership, so that kind of takes us out of that mix. There is additional money for vehicles and infrastructure. And again, we don't need either one of those two things, so it kind of takes us out of the mix. But the one thing that they're looking at, and I'm not sure where they're going to land on this, is the block grants. And I don't know if you saw that piece in their page or not, but they're talking about taking like the 5311 or the 5307 small urban and putting it into like a block grant where the state would actually control it and FTA would no longer control it. So your federal review would not be a triennial review. Your review would come from a management review at the ODOT level, and that the money would have to be passed through, and it could either be formalized or it could be just passed through. It's just more conversation that's going to happen. So that may be something that it could help us. And again, and then they're looking at changing the grant as far as the match on it would be lower. It would only be 20% versus 50%, which would help a lot of agencies that are struggling. That's not our situation, but for smaller urbans, it could be. They were leaving money on the table because they didn't have any match money.
Okay, well, yeah. So I want to just again invite any of the board members if you'd like to give me some comments, but otherwise I will circle back around with Julie and Paige before our next meeting, before we're presented with some decisions as to how we support one or both of these bills. That's my concern, is to making sure that we're supporting the right provisions in each one, or if they decide to support just one over the other, that we're choosing the right one for transit. Right?
Anya, what is the MPO's goal with these? They want to make a formal recommendation on supporting them? Is that what they're trying to get to?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think they want to submit a formal letter to our legislators. Mm-hmm. Federal.
Sorry if you said that, I missed it.
No, absolutely. I think they had presented one at the last meeting, and it was tabled because we'd learned that they had also presented the second bill. And so there's questions about what was actually being proposed. So here we are. We've got lots of different key provisions to consider. So if anybody wants to weigh in, please do. All right, I think that's it for me. Yeah, nothing else to report there. Anything from Traco?
I alluded to the fact that most of the discussion that I wrote down in my notes from when they met on June 9th had to do with when the legislators would be visiting, and there was a lot of energy around sort of there are two main prongs of education that they see Tradco being potentially useful for, educating the public and educating the lawmakers, and being a part of that united voice around here's how these things come together and why transit is so essential. And I can't remember now because everything's been bonkers at SOU. Who else was there? Was anyone else at Tradco on June 9th?
I was there.
I thought you were there. What else am I missing?
think-
Any essential points?
I think that covered it, Katrina. I think that they're starting to realize that they need to take they're trying to get more business owners around the table on the Tradco team because they're starting to realize that they need a voice that is powerful versus just writing a letter. So starting to push a lot of these different and around the table. So it's a transportation group. So you see a lot of contractors, road contractors, building contractors, et cetera. But we need to have more chamber people, a different look at it. So I think that they're trying to make a concerted effort at getting more people to join.
Okay. Yep. That's all.
Thank you. And how about RV Act, Denise?
Okay, RV Act did not meet since our last meeting, but they meet on July 14th. So that'll be the next one.
Yeah, from what I heard from the MPO, there should be a very long and interactive meeting agenda for RV Act. So if there's some significant things, yeah, just wish you luck on that. So
Yeah, some things, it's starting to circulate a little bit already. So for the 14th meeting.
yeah. All right. No executive session tonight. Let me check and see if anybody's got a hand raised. Nope. So is there anything else for the good of the order before we adjourn?
It's probably your bedtime, so you and Paige.
Yeah, yeah. 9:30.
Well, thanks for doing that from far away.
Yeah. Well, thanks for putting up with me on the Zoom tonight. So, all right. Thank you all. Good night.
Night.
Good night.
All right.
Good.